Hello, my name is Ava Romanek, and this is my midterm presentation on my internship at Green Bay Packaging. So, a little company overview. As I said, I'm currently with the company Green Bay Packaging. They are located in Wisconsin, based out of Wisconsin in the US, and they do all different types of corrugated packaging, um, very sustainable, one of the most sustainable company corrugate companies in the US. Uses 100% recycled corrugate and does products ranging between just regular corrugated boxes like RSCs and HSCs to things like e-commerce packaging and counter units and displays and retail ready packaging, things like that. Here are some just quick images to get more of a visual of what the company does. Um, we do things like printing, die cutting, all of those special things to make these cool looking packages. And then here are some more complex designs, the more fun looking ones that you might find in a brick and mortar store like Meyer or something like that. So about my role as a design intern, I am a part of the design department and I am in the structural side. There's also a graphics side of the design department, but I'm on the structural side. And um, on the structural side, we have Paul, Jim, and Brian. The, so it's the four of us on the structural side, and then there are two other people in the graphics side. And then we have Rob and Dan, who are the higher up managers at my facility. And they walk around here and there, so I see them and say hi to them here and there. But um, Paul is really the main person I'm talking to on a day-to-day basis. He's my mentor, and he is the assistant design manager. The location of my internship is in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and it is in person 5 days a week. So just to go over some things I've been doing so far for the 3 months I've been 2.5 months I've been here. Um, I am in Artios CAD all day long, creating a bunch of different designs for um, real customer requests every day. And that ranges from things like just basic RSCs, HSCs, um, to die cut boxes, which could be, things like uh, one, two, or three-sided rollovers or tuck tops. And then I am also doing ISTA testing and material testing, just like how we would do in the packaging 432 and 410 class. Things like ECT testing and compression testing, vibration testing, stuff like that. Um, I'm also learning about how to work with the machines that we have at this manufacturing plant. Certain arts we have certain machines that can only take certain sizes of boxes and produce certain sizes of boxes or fold them together correctly, or the glue camera to for quality reasons might not work if it's a certain length, things like that. I am always constantly in the design lab, which is what I have a picture of on the screen here. You can see the Kongsberg table right up front there. I'm constantly cutting samples on that table, and I'm constantly calling sales reps and emailing people inside and outside of my company, just trying to figure out, making sure that things align in our request system and, the work that I'm doing is aligning with what is supposed to be done. So look into my day to day into my schedule. I start work at 7:30 a.m. every day. And at 7:45, we have our morning meeting. So that is basically just Jim, the design manager, going down the list of customer requests that we have, what's open, what are we working on, and if whoever has their name on a certain project will give a little 1 to 2 sentence rundown of what is going on with that specific project. It's pretty much just kind of saying oh yeah, like I'm still working on that right now. I'm waiting for a response back, things like that. Um, so yeah, we're just when I get there, I'm just kind of checking my email, checking the systems, seeing we have, what requests we have going, what's due today, things like that. And I will just either continue working on whatever I was doing the day before, or I will grab a new customer request, just to keep the momentum going. And then some other things that I'm doing day to day or almost every day or like weekly, things like that. Homecrest, that's just a specific company that we have. They do like furniture and cabinets. So they need very large size boxes but like not in huge volumes. So they just have us people in the design department, um, cut them out specific boxes that they need that day or that week, on the Kongsberg table. So whenever we get an order like that in, I'll just go and cut those out. And then material testing, like I said, I just go over to the environmental chamber whenever I have some free time to see if there is some board waiting to be tested. So a very short rundown of my first big project. I could go more into detail, but I'm gonna try to summarize it. You can kind of see an image on the screen of the main box that I was working on. It's a die cut box made out of e-flute for a water filter, kind of similar to a Brita filter, is what I would compare it to. Um, and it was bigger at the top than it was the bottom, and it had a spout coming off of it. So there was different dimensions there that I had to deal with when trying to come up with the dimensions for this die cut box. And based off of, the competitor's box that the company had previously made, we were going to go with E-flute for that. And then, they wanted two of these die cut boxes packed into an RSC made out of C flute. And then they also wanted one option with, uh, dunnage inside of it as well. So inside of that die cut box, I had to come up with a design for how to protect the water filter. And that was made out of E-flute. So it took a lot of brainstorming for sure to not only just come up with how to, properly protect the product, but also there was a lot of different caliper dimensions going on. And since there were two different options, there was the option that didn't have the dunnage, which had different dimensions than the one with the dunnage, because obviously the cardboard and the corrugate inside of the die cut box is going to take up some room as well. So everything there had different dimensions, and it took me a while to figure it out, but I eventually got there. So some skills that I've been gaining would be Artios CAD, definitely the main one. I'm in that every single day, constantly learning new things about how it works, what tools to use, what I can do in it, things like that. Material and ISTA testing. Here's a picture of the, testing lab that we have. You can see there is in the back there, we have the vibration table, and then on the right, there is the compression table. And then on the countertops in the far back, you can see, I mean, it's kind of crowded in there, but on the countertops, there are the ECT testers, the ECT machine, and the DST machine as well. And then I also do soak tests as well. And then, oh yeah, and then here on the right, you can see the environmental chamber. I'm also doing a lot of cross-functional communication. I'm always going back and forth between email, whether it's emailing people or calling people or just, Microsoft Teams, like texting people on that. Just if they're in my company and it's just a quick question. But yeah, I'm constantly trying to figure out, making sure things match. Sometimes what the drawing says that somebody provided for us as an example of what they want doesn't align with what the request system says. So I have to double check everything, make sure it all lines up. And then time management, since I am working on real projects, real customer projects, there are deadlines. I normally get anywhere between a day to maybe 3 days to complete a project. It just kind of depends on how many items they're asking for and or how complex the design is. So my work environment, I would say my coworkers are definitely nice and helpful. They are a little quiet, but I don't I don't mind. Um, I can't really complain. They're Paul, my main mentor, he is very insightful and explains things very well. So I'm thankful for that. Comfort wise, I would say it's definitely kind of a boring location, but it, it's not terrible. I'm glad I get my own cubicle. It's nice to have like a little bit of privacy at least. I like that I'm not totally closed off. Like right behind where I took this picture is the other two cubicles of Paul and Brian in my design department. And then Jim, the design manager, is just on the other side of the wall as well. And or other side of the hallway, I guess I should say. The tasks that I'm doing, they are definitely meaningful. They're real projects, so there's not much, can't get much more meaningful than that. And the workload is kind of up to me. I'm the one who's selecting my, like, clicking on the request and selecting my name, assigning myself to that specific thing every day. So if I want to be doing a bunch of things at once, I can. I try to take it kind of slow, but if there is a pause in whatever I'm doing because I'm waiting for a response back on an email or something, then I will go ahead and grab another request just to keep going. So reflecting on my thoughts on the industry, I am definitely pleased. I have never really wanted to do anything else. I've never had much interest in any other industry. I've always loved the idea of packaging. And I think being a structural designer for corrugate is very interesting. It's not the most glamorous. I think structural design in general, I definitely enjoy. I think someday I would like to venture into more consumer based packaging because I feel like a lot of what I'm doing right now is just like basic RSCs and things like that. There's not as many fun product, fun items that I'm getting in, like um, PR boxes, I think would be a really cool thing to do. And then when it comes to preparation, I was definitely well prepared, or at least as well prepared as I could have been, as this was my first real industry experience. I studied abroad in the UK this past summer, and that gave me a lot of good insight on how companies work and what plants look like and how those function. And then I'm also a part of MSUPS. That's more just, background knowledge of companies and how they work and that kind of a thing. And then I have some classes listed on the screen as well that I think definitely gave me a good amount of background knowledge. Of course, paper and paperboard was one of the most helpful classes for my specific internship working at a corrugate industry. Doing all of the ECT testing was definitely I was thinking hard back to remember what I learned in that class, but it definitely prepared me well. Overall, my expectations were about right for the internship. I knew it wasn't going to be the most glamorous thing. I knew I wasn't living in Chicago or New York or anything, but I chose this internship for the content of the work, and I have been enjoying the content. So, um, when it comes to preparation, I think going in, I was definitely scared of forgetting the basics. I was, like, just basic terminology, things like that. I know I get scared of saying cardboard sometimes because I know it's corrugate. I know it's corrugate, but just little things like that I get scared of forgetting. And especially now that I'm like 2 months, 2.5 months in, if I forget something pretty basic, that'd be kind of embarrassing. Expectations for continuing forward, I'm just gonna kind of continue as I have been. I got to meet one of the old interns for a week. My first week, I overlapped with the old intern for a little bit, and So I got to talk with him a little bit, and he said that he didn't really ever get to go visit many places. I know some internships will bring their interns to site visits and company meetings outside of the building. He said that he only got to do that like twice, so I'm pretty much just expecting to move forward exactly as I have been and just kind of taking on more challenging drawings and customer requests as I gain more skills. When it comes to the adjustment of the internship, a negative would definitely be the 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. time, Monday through Friday. Starting at 7:30 every day has definitely been an adjustment, and I'm getting a little bit more used to it, but it does kind of it still kind of sucks. Not gonna lie. I've always been a morning person, but it is what it is. And then a more positive adjustment, I've really enjoyed having a mentor that I can just kind of go ask a random question to whenever I need. Um, in a school setting, if I'm just doing my homework, I can't just walk over to my professor 2 feet away from me. If I'm doing my homework at school, but if I'm working on something at my internship, then I can walk 3 feet away to my mentor's cubicle and ask him whatever I want. So yeah, overall, I would say I'm satisfied with the work content that I'm doing, but the environment could be a little bit better. But you win some and you lose some. So that would be all. So thank you for listening to my midterm presentation.